After creating the shared folder, you need to apply the access controls to it, and finally, let's see how you can access it from the domain joined Linux host. Let's launch the Server Manager. Then click on the Tools menu and then select Active Directory Users and Computers. Expand the tree node for this Windows Active Directory domain, and you will find that in this Windows domain we have two OUs called Tetra and Tetra2, under which we have a few users, Tetra1, Tetra2, Tetra3, and Tetra4 respectively. Let's use these users to verify the shared location access by logging into the Linux system. Let's switch over to the domain joined Linux host. Click another and type in the full domain username for Tetra1 user. Click on Login. Enter the password and then click on Login again. Okay, now we have successfully logged in as the Tetra1 user into the Linux host. Alright, the next step is to access a shared folder over the network within this Linux host. Let's click on the Places menu on the top left corner, and then click on Connect to Server. This Connect to Server dialog box helps you browse for network locations and mount the shared network folders as native folders to the server. First, you have to select the server type. In this case, it is a Windows share which you are trying to access, so that is the value you will select. Next, you need to specify the server DNS name or URL or IP address. Let's input the IP address of the Windows domain server. By now, we remember it by heart. The IP address of the Windows domain server is 192.168.1.254. Next is the share name. In this case, it is test, so that is what you will input here. And let's also specify the username. Let's use the currently logged on user Tetra1. You can accept default values for the rest of the fields and click on Connect. And now it is asking the user to enter the full credentials of the user Tetra1 so that you can connect securely to our network share. First, you will enter the domain name, which in this case is Tetranoodle. And then you will also input the password for Tetra1 user. Notice that you also have these options here to remember your credentials so that you don't have to type them in over and over again while accessing this network share. But obviously, these options have some security implications. So for now, we will just select the default option of Forget Password Immediately and click on Connect. Okay, great. Now we are securely accessing the network share which is located on the Windows domain server. Now let's see what happens when you attempt to create a new folder in this network share. Right-click, Create Folder, and as you can see, we got an error. Can you guess the reason why we got this error? If we open up this information label, you will see the actual error is permission denied. Well, this is to be expected because remember, we did not assign any write or edit permissions for any user. The only permissions we provisioned were read-only permissions for everyone. Okay, so we will take care of that in a moment. First, let's make sure that we are accessing the correct network share. Switch to the Windows domain server, launch Windows Explorer, navigate to the test folder. Here, create new text file called test.txt. Now let's open this text file with a text editor and enter some content. Let's say this is a test file. Let's close the text editor and save this file. And now switch to the domain joined Linux host. Here you are looking at the test network share again. But wait a minute, we don't see the new file we just created. What gives? Well, we need to refresh our view to be able to see the fresh contents of this folder. The easiest way to do that will be to close the view and reopen the network share. You'll notice that a new shortcut was created for you automatically on the desktop. Let's double click on this shortcut to navigate to the Windows network share once again. And there you go. After refreshing the view, you can see this new test.txt file located here. Let's double click on this file to open it up with a text editor. And you can see the contents of this file are identical to the contents that we put on the Windows server. This proves we are looking at the exact same network location which is shared on the Windows domain controller. Excellent! In this demo, you were able to deploy a network share and access it successfully from the domain-joined Linux host. Even though you were able to access the network share location from the domain-joined Linux host, we only assigned read permissions to the folder. If you want your network users to be able to add or edit anything in the shared location, you will have to assign custom permissions on the shared network. Let's see how you can accomplish that. Now let's switch to the Windows domain server and make a few changes to the access control for the network shared folder. Here in Windows Explorer, right-click on the folder Test again and select Properties. Switch to the Sharing tab. Click on Advanced Sharing. Then go to Permissions. This time, remove Everyone. Select the Everyone group and then click on Remove button. Now no one has any permissions on this folder whatsoever. Now click Add. A new Object Explorer dialog box opens up, which can help you browse and locate any type of object in this Active Directory domain. Type in Tetra here in the object name and then click on Check Names. You will notice that we did not specify the complete username here, but this dialog box will help us locate all the objects which make the search criteria. This is a handy little feature that helps us locate the required objects in the Active Directory domain. And here's the list of matching usernames found in this Active Directory domain. Let's select all these 4 users. Click OK. Click OK again. Now let's configure permissions for these 4 users. Next, let's assign read-on read permissions to all 4 users. But for one of these users, assign full control permissions so that this one user can create, edit, or delete any file or subfolder within this network share. Let's assign the full control permissions to Tetra1. Of course, why not? He is number 1 after all. And accept read-only permissions for the rest of the users. Click Apply. Click OK. Click Apply again. Click OK. And close. Now let's switch over to the Linux host. Log in as Tetra2 user. Let's input the credentials. Username and password. Click Login. Okay, so you can see we have logged into the Linux system as Tetra2 user. Now let's click on the Places menu. From the drop-down menu, click on Connect to Server. Select Windows Share as the service type. Type in the server IP address 192.168.1.254. Enter the share name, which is test. Enter the username, Tetra2. Click on Connect. New Credentials dialog pops up. Here enter the domain tetranoodle and enter the password for Tetra2 user. Click Connect. A new window opens. This is the share location residing on the Windows server. Let's try to create a new folder here by right-clicking. We got an error that states the permission is denied. This is expected. Why? Because we assigned read-only permissions for our Tetra2 user. Click Skip. Okay, so it is verified that the Linux host is not allowing us to make any changes to this folder or this shared location. Now log out as this user. Click on System and then Log Out. Now let's log in as the Tetra1 user. Note that Tetra1 user has full control permissions on the shared folder. Enter the username and password. Click Login. Now this time we logged into the Linux system as Tetra1 user.